Good morning and welcome to Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton. It's great to have you with me again this week. I want to talk to you about something I think we all deal with, and that is to try to hit our personal goals while punching out our daily to-do lists. So I want to talk about prioritizing things and making sure that while we prioritize things that we don't get out of balance, so that we can achieve our long-term goals and punch out our day-to-day to-do lists. Because sometimes I find, and that's why I want to talk about it today, I find that my daily to-do lists can oftentimes overwhelm me or get me off track, stress me out, whatever, so that I begin to blow up or forget about some of my more long-term goals and some of my more personal development type things where I'm trying to get stronger, I'm trying to get smarter, I'm trying to get more at peace, I'm trying to save money, all these different things, trying to keep my urgencies in balance so that I don't blow up some of my longer term goals. So let's help you with that. So let's think about that a little bit this morning. So I'm going to kind of be transparent and talk about what I've got going on today. I got to get on a plane today. I'm heading to Texas. I've had to move some things around with my ministry schedule, so I have to pre-record some stuff, which is what I'm doing right now. I have to pre-record some radio ads, so there's a whole bunch of things on my to-do list. Of course, there's even, silly things like taking a shower, getting dressed, packing my clothes, all that stuff. I've got stuff coming in from prison ministry, so I've got to see everything that just piles up on the things I have to do today, things I have to do tomorrow. But the way that you keep it balanced is that you set goals in other areas of your life that in some ways compete with your daily to-do list, or they some way kind of keep an undercurrent of to-dos, things that you have to do. So the way that I do that to keep myself balanced is I use a tool called the balanced scale. And so I have goals that are spiritual. I have goals that are physical, my health. I have goals that are mental, things I need to learn, like I need to learn some Spanish. I need to study about different leadership stuff that I'm always teaching on. I need to think about emotional type things and study about the science of managing emotion. I have to think about my relationships, which is social, and then I think about money or financial, because everything costs money. So I set goals, longer term goals, in all 6 of those areas, and I keep them in front of my eyes so that urgencies don't cloud those out, because long term you can't do what you need to do if you're not spiritually focused, meaning that you don't have a priority in your life to get quiet, in my case pray, and take some time to really kind of allow yourself not only to separate yourself from your long-term and your short-term goals and just be, right? For me, it's be with God. I don't see myself separated from Him. Without God, there'd be no me. So spiritual for me is prayer. It's reading the Bible. It's writing the red letters. And these are daily practices that if I don't do them daily, I feel a little tight, a little out of sorts, a little like I left something out. It's like taking a shower. If you don't take a shower, you don't feel just right? It's much more important than taking a shower, even though taking a shower is important. And then I have my physical goals. So I set some things, because if I'm not careful, I will definitely, eat stupid. I'll eat the wrong things. And so I set some goals around what I'm going to eat today. If I'm fasting, if I'm doing intermittent fasting, I have my plan for the day. I also need to get my exercise in. So if I can't get out and walk 5 miles today, I'm going to try to get on a treadmill when I land in Dallas Fort Worth, and I'm gonna get on the treadmill at least to walk those 5 miles on the treadmill. I'd rather walk it on a golf course, thank you very much, but I don't always get to that. Mentally, I want to improve today, right? And that one is the one, honestly, that kind of falls at the wayside. Reading a book, spending a 20-minute or a 30-minute session studying Spanish, which I need to do for my work in Cuba. That, for me, that's the one that oftentimes gets away from me. And I need to read more. I need to study more so that I can serve better, because I get called on to help people a lot. And if I'm not getting stronger, I myself feel like I don't have that much to offer. But if I'm learning new things and I'm studying new techniques and I'm, in this case, learning a language, then that really helps my confidence. It helps my confidence in a lot of ways. Emotional, the emotional goals that I have is it's a lot about watching how I feel and asking myself the question on a daily basis, how am I feeling about things? But what that does is that helps me to ask that question of other people and to be a little bit more objective about what they tell me, because I'll ask the question of, how stressed out are they? How anxious are they? How fearful are they? Is this coming from a place? And it helps me when I'm assessing myself to really say, well, how do I feel about that? Am I feeling angry about that, frustrated about that, anxious about that, stressed about that, fearful about that? That helps me to be sensitive to another person. They may be telling me one thing, but there's a lot that they're not telling me when they're coming to me for help, or they're coming to me for advice, they're coming to me for certain things. So working on your own situation, and when you are interacting with the people you interact with daily, your family, people at work, different things, just kind of be really conscious of how you feel, because your feelings are important. A lot of us make decisions emotionally, and if we're not kind of objectively thinking about our emotions and why are we feeling emotionally certain ways, we won't make as good a decisions as we could if we're more conscious of that. So the emotional piece is not just managing when I lose my temper, or managing how passionately I feel about things, because I want to be more connected, I want to feel more, I want to love more, I want to care more, all that. It's not just that. It's the emotional piece of your balance scale is, how often do I think about how do I feel? And then how often do I think about how the person I'm interacting with feels? So that's something that helps me stay balanced. And then socially, I have, for me, that's relationships. And so it's not, like getting out and just going to a party and being with a bunch of people. It's about who are the most important people in my life, and who are the people that are really key to my day-to-day, to not only my personal life, my wife, my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandson, my sisters and brothers, that type of thing. But it's also, the people I work with, the people that I spend time with, my clients in business, and then when I start thinking about that, again, it comes back to, how can I socially improve, stay more connected, be connected to resources, be connected to doors that need to be opened for people, etc. So I think about that, and I set goals for that. So I reach out to my communities where I know a lot of people who have a lot of influence, who have access to different areas in the world, in the government, in education, in business, in the ministry, the church, in Cuba, in the different places that I go, in the prison system, etc. As I begin to think about those things. So I set goals socially to stay more aware. But for me, I like to prioritize my wife and my daughter and my grandson, of course, my son-in-law as well. And then from there, I can do other things. I can do those things. So it's important that you do that. And then financially, I want to be saving money. I want to be investing, be careful about my investing. I'm not overly concerned a lot of times about, for me, financially is how can I be generous? Where do I want to do my giving? Where do I want to focus my giving? things like that. So I have financial goals as well. So spiritual goals, prayer, quiet time, reading my Bible for me. And then that's also a time when I think. It's a lot of times where I make these types of conversations that I'm having with you a priority. Kind of balances me out, that spiritual time, because I believe that God can speak to me and he can balance me and he keeps me objective. He keeps me positive. He keeps me in a victorious mindset rather than I can't do it, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm not smart enough and all that stuff. And then physically, you got to make sure you're doing stuff to stay strong. I'm going to be 65 this year, so I want to make sure that I continue to maintain a certain level of capacity and capability. Mentally, I need to be learning every day. Emotionally, I need to be asking myself and aware of how I feel, so I don't snap at somebody, or I don't go numb, or I stop listening in a situation. And socially, I have people on my mind, relationships on my mind, which I prioritize. And then finally, financially, I want to be getting ahead financially. Does this all make sense? And they're all balanced. I put it in that order: spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, social, and financial. If you work that order, none of those will get left out. If you put financial first, then you'll ignore the spiritual, and you'll end up in a place you don't want to end up in, because you won't be as thoughtful as you need to be. You'll be super focused on making money, and your relationships will suffer, your health will suffer, your own personal development will suffer, and you'll be very transactional in life rather than relational. And relational is much more satisfying and long-lasting. And so you don't want to be transactional. You don't even want to be viewed as transactional in life, because you'll make more enemies than friends. And so you don't want to do that. So that's how I try to focus on these things. And then when my day comes, what I do is I have this other tool I call the Sunday night meeting. I set my week time-wise, and I also set my week money-wise for how I'm going to spend my time and how I'm going to spend my money. I budget things so that when people make requests of me, I can easily say to people, because I'm already kind of occupied, I've already kind of set my course for the week. Here's how I'm going to spend my time. This week I was in DC on Monday and Tuesday. I have other clients, so I had to move them. I usually minister or work with them on Monday or Tuesday. I had to move it to Thursday, so I set up my morning for Thursday. I have to fly, all these different things I have to do. I have one of my relationships, a very key relationship in my life. I'm going to have dinner with them on Wednesday night. So all these things are set already. All these things are, so when people come to me and they say, I need something from you, I can say, well, this week I can't do it, but let's see if we can get something on the calendar for next week or the week thereafter. And so when you're aware of it and you set it on that Sunday night before you start your week, then what happens is that you have control over how you spend your time and how you're going to spend your money. I'm not overly exacting on, I'm going to buy a cup of coffee, or I'm going to, spend this much on lunch or whatever. But I do realize that once I set my week and have it in my mind, I try not to let other people's demands or requests outweigh my budget for the week or my budget for the month, or and it's my budget isn't that overly fixed, but it's something that is on my mind, because I get a lot of requests from a lot of different places all the time. So if I'm proactively setting it, then I'm not, knee-jerk reacting to other people's requests or demands for my time or my money. And so what I do is I just let me think about it. I don't have time to look at my calendar for next week, and I've got a lot of requests coming in right now, so I can't say yes to you right now. It's kind of like being a dad, where with a lot of kids, 7 kids, 6, if someone asks for something, you've got to take into account that if you say yes to one, you're really saying yes to all of them. And so you have to be, super, super conscious of this. And so I'm trying to help you with this, because I know what happens in most people's lives, and I have to work with a lot of people. They spend 95% of their lives on their urgencies, on their what's right in front of them that day, and they set no goals long term. And what that means is that you're going to get tired, you're going to get out of shape, you're going to get weak over time. and then you're not going to be able to punch out those to-do lists, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes early on, and you're going to get damaged or hurt to where, and this is why people start drinking, this is why people can't sleep, this is why people lose friends, get divorced, all these different things, because they don't balance their day-to-day life. They don't balance it with long-term development. If you're going to stay strong in a marriage, you got to get better. You got to develop. You got to develop capacity, because stuff comes up. If you're going to stay strong, healthy, you got to stay on it. You got to pay attention to it. You got to eat right. You got to sleep right. You got to drink water. You got to exercise. You got to do all the things that you got to do. If you're going to stay strong emotionally, you got to know how you feel. You got to be conscious of it, and you got to choose to feel good. You got to choose, to work on it. So you got to stay strong relationally. Then you've got to pay attention to your friends. You got to pay attention to your relationships. So I just wanted you to think about that today, and I wanted you to comment back to me. Let me know how you feel about it, and we could have a discussion. This is just my perspective on a lot of things, but it works. It's worked for me for a long, long time, and I wanted, maybe you could just take one nugget away from this conversation that we're having. If you have a question, reach out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us at Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton.